When it comes to sub 250 gram drones, these are your current two top end choices, the DJI Mini 3 Pro and the Evo Nano Plus. But which one of these drones is worth your hard earned cash? Let's do a comparison and find out. Let's jump right in. Hey everyone, Matthew here, and today we're doing a comparison between the DJI Mini 3 Pro and the Evo Nano Plus. We're going to take a look at things like flight time, image transmission, wind resistance, features of the drone such as vertical video mode or active tracking. We're going to take a look at things like video quality at daytime and nighttime, the photos you can get out of these drones at daytime and nighttime as well, and all importantly, the price. Now before we get into the comparison, I just want you to quickly pause the video, go down to the comments and drop a comment if you own either of these drones, which drone you think is going to come out on top, or if you're thinking about buying one of these drones. Comment either DJI Mini 3 Pro or Evo Nano Plus. Now if you want to know more about these drones, or you want to buy any of these drones in this comparison, then I put all the links down below in the description of this video. Now with all that out of the way, let's take a look at these two drones and see which one is going to come out on top. Now I'm going to start with what I think is one of the biggest differing factors between these two drones, and an incredibly frustrating factor when it comes to flying the AUTEL Nano Plus, and that is the app and software issues. When it comes to flying DJI Mini 3 Pro, we use the DJI Fly app. DJI has been doing this for years. Their app is well refined at this stage. It's intuitive, well laid out, easy to use, and rarely if ever do you have software issues with it. I know if I select the video output to be 4K, when I hit record, come home and look at the file, it's going to be in 4K. Unfortunately, that's not a confidence I have with the AUTEL Nano Plus, which uses the AUTEL Sky app. During my time testing, I was plagued with an issue where I would select 4K as my video file output, come home, look at the video file, and it would be in 720p. I also had other issues while using this app. Another one that comes to mind is the fact that if I turn on histogram so I could expose my image correctly, every single time I turned the drone on and off, it had forgot that I'd turned histogram on. I had to go back into settings and turn on histogram again. The firmware takes a very, very long time to update on the AUTEL Nano Plus, especially compared to the DJI Mini 3 Pro. And there were lots of other little niggles that I discovered when using the app, which in general is a less refined experience compared to the DJI Mini 3 Pro. So this is something that I consider to be a huge factor. You need to be able to trust your drone, trust that the settings you have selected and the settings that are shown as selected are what you're actually going to get. And in my time testing, I had multiple occasions where that wasn't the case with the AUTEL Nano Plus. When it comes to flight time, the DJI Mini 3 Pro wins the game. The DJI Mini 3 Pro has a 34-minute flight time, whereas the AUTEL Nano Plus only has a 28-minute flight time. When it comes to build quality, there's not much to say other than both these drones feel great for a mini drone. You have to expect plastic materials, that's how they keep the weight sub 250 grams, but both drones feel very well made. I will say in my opinion, the Mini 3 Pro feels like a newer generation of drone design-wise. With its higher back legs, it's completely different gimbal design and front end, whereas the AUTEL Nano Plus feels more like a Mini 2 in its design. It feels more like the design we were used to seeing for a mini drone until the Mini 3 Pro came out. But that's not to take anything away from the AUTEL Nano Plus. Build quality-wise, both these drones are great. Wind resistance and performance. Both these drones are rated for a level 5 wind resistance. I went out and I done a quick test on a windy day. I put both drones in sport or ludicrous mode. I flew them 500 meters out over the water in a tailwind. I turned them around and I flew them 500 meters back in a headwind. And in this headwind, the DJI Mini 3 Pro was the clear winner. It had much more performance when flying into that headwind. It flew faster into that headwind, and it came back to me much quicker. And this was the general theme I found when flying these drones in high wind scenarios. The Mini 3 Pro had more power to be able to fly into them headwinds, and it was able to hold its position much better. Video quality. Now I tried my hardest to get video comparisons at exactly the same time, at the same perspectives with these two drones, so you can see the differences for yourself and make your mind up which one you think looks best. When it comes to the sensor sizes, the Mini 3 has a 1/1.3 inch sensor, and the AUTEL Nano Plus has a 1/1.28 inch sensor. This is very, very close, and the video quality of these two drones is very comparable. It's going to be personal preference. In my opinion, I find the AUTEL Nano Plus video to be slightly too sharp. It's definitely much sharper than the Mini 3 Pro's video, and in my opinion it looks artificially sharp. That's not to say it looks bad, it just looks artificially sharpened. The colors are different, the color sciences are different, so you're going to end up with different colors, especially I noticed it in the greens out in Northern Ireland. There's a lot of greens, and I did notice the colors come out differently. Again, this is going to be personal preference, but again, I think the Mini 3 Pro colors look better straight out of the drone. But again, I'm going to say it, there were a few comparisons I'd done where the AUTEL Nano Plus was meant to be recording in 4K, but when I came home and looked at the clips, they're in 720p again, which means I can't use them clips as a comparison in this video. So I just have to mention that again, this was a big letdown with the AUTEL Nano Plus. When it comes to low light performance, both drones are capable of producing very nice images, very nice videos for them low light scenarios. Both drones perform excellent in low light scenarios. When it comes to slow motion, the DJI Mini 3 Pro has 1920 by 1080, 120 FPS, allowing you to get beautiful slow motion videos with this drone. The closest you're going to get on the AUTEL Nano Plus is at 1080p, you can record at 60 FPS, and you could slow this down to 25 or 30 FPS to get a small amount of slow motion. Active tracking. The DJI Mini 3 Pro has active tracking included, and this is a fantastic active tracking solution. I actually think this is probably the best tracking you can get on any drone right now. The AUTEL Nano Plus is, as far as I can make out, going to get active tracking at some point. On their website, they reference dynamic tracking 2.1. But if you look at the small print, it says it's going to be added with a software update or a firmware update in the future, which it currently doesn't have. So you can't do tracking in this drone. The closest it has is something called portrait mode, which seems to be like spotlight mode on the DJI Fly app, where the drone will stay in place and it will follow you. But I found this in my testing to be not very good, and it lost track of you very, very quickly. So no tracking on the AUTEL Nano Plus. If you're looking for a drone to track you doing activities such as hiking or cycling, then the DJI Mini 3 Pro is the drone you're going to want to pick up. I will touch on vertical video very quickly. If you're someone who records a lot of video for social media such as Instagram or TikTok, and you want to record natively in that vertical mode and at max resolution, export it straight from the drone and put it straight on them social media platforms, of course you can do that from the DJI Mini 3 Pro. A massive selling feature is the fact that the gimbal and camera can now rotate and you can record in vertical video mode. That's something that's not possible in the AUTEL Nano Plus, so you're just going to have to record in a landscape ratio and crop the video down in post. Image quality. So the DJI Mini 3 Pro is capable of 48 megapixel images, whereas the AUTEL Nano Plus slightly higher at 50 megapixels. And I think the DJI Mini 3 Pro has the slight edge again. I think the images look better to the eye, they're crisper, sharper, and I think they have slightly more detail. That's not to say the images coming out of the AUTEL Nano Plus aren't good. They are very, very close, if not exactly the same. I just think to my eye, I think the Mini 3 Pro images are slightly better. And the same goes for low light. The images you're going to get out of these drones in low light are very, very good and very, very comparable. Again, it's going to be personal preference which one you prefer, but I think they're actually extremely close. Transmissions. So I've been flying the Mini 3 Pro for many weeks now with the new RC controller, and not once have I had any transmission issues flying it. It's been very comparable to the Mini 2. Very solid, very dependable. And I think the reason for that is I never personally fly my drone that far away. If I'm going out to record a subject or location, I always get as close to it as possible. And so I think that's the reason I've never really had any transmission issues and continue to not have any transmission issues. But in fairness of this comparison, I went out and I done 2 tests. The first test I done was a simple range test. I flew both drones out over the water. There was no obstacles between me and the drone, and at 500 meters, both drones had no signal issues. The transmission was perfect, the image on the screen was great, and there was no lag on the input of the controller and the movement of the drone. So both the DJI Mini 3 Pro and AUTEL Nano Plus passed this test with flying colours. For the second test, I wanted to see what would happen if you did put something in between yourself and your drone. I started with the AUTEL Nano Plus, I put it above the rock formation, then behind it, and I started to lower it down, and I was able to get the AUTEL Nano Plus all the way down to the water and still not have any transmission issues whatsoever. The screen was still perfectly clear, there was no cutouts, and there was no input lag. So the AUTEL Nano Plus passed this test with flying colours. The DJI Mini 3 Pro, on the other hand, when I started to lower the drone behind the rock formation, I immediately started to get transmission issues, the video on the screen started to cut out, and I started getting input lag. So, in my personal experience, as mentioned, transmission issues are not something I have with the DJI Mini 3 Pro because I don't put my drone in that position. But if you do range tests, if you fly your drone really far away, if you're constantly putting your drone behind obstacles, obstructing that transmission between you and the drone, then the AUTEL Nano Plus is going to perform better. Noise levels. These drones differ a lot when it comes to noise levels. The Mini 3 Pro is a very quiet drone. Whenever you first take it off, you'll be surprised by how quiet it is. If the drone's above you or a slight distance away from you, you'll barely hear it at all. The AUTEL Nano Plus, on the other hand, is a loud drone in my opinion. It takes off very aggressively, and when it's in the air, it's very loud. You will hear this drone whenever it's above you, and you will hear this drone whenever it's a slight distance away from you. Let's talk about controllers. So the DJI Mini 3 Pro comes with a new RC controller. I think this is a fantastic controller. Comes with a screen attached, which is a massive benefit. It means you can pull this controller out of your bag, it boots up very, very quickly, and away you go. You don't have to attach your phone. You have a large amount of buttons in the controller, which is great. You have a button for recording photos, 2 scroll wheels, you have customizable buttons on the back, and ergonomically, this is just a great controller to use. I love this controller. The AUTEL Nano Plus looks like an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Indeed, it looks very, very similar. You have a latch on the top, which you pull up, the phone goes in, and you attach a cable to. Ergonomically, this is a really nice controller to use. It has a nice weight to it, the sticks feel good, and I enjoyed flying the drone with this controller. Where it falls down is, firstly, you have nowhere to put the joysticks when they're not attached, which means you need to go in your shoulder bag. For me, that means I'm definitely losing them joysticks at some point. The latch doesn't close fully with the cable attached for your phone, so again, it needs to come off. You can't store it anywhere, has to go in the bag. Again, that means I'm probably going to lose it. And also there's not as many buttons on the controller. You only have 1 scroll wheel and you have no customizable buttons on the back. So not a bad controller, but definitely in my opinion not anywhere near the same league as the new RC controller that comes with the Mini 3 Pro. Obstacle avoidance. Both these drones come with tri-direction obstacle avoiding sensors that can look forwards, backwards and downwards and will stop themselves if they see an obstacle in the way. In my testing, both drones performed very well and won't allow you to fly into subjects using these sensors. An area where the Mini 3 Pro has the edge is it has bypass mode, meaning if it sees an obstacle or subject, it can automatically fly around it using its sensors with no extra input on the controller from yourself. The only modes that the AUTEL Nano Plus has is obstacle avoidance off or obstacle avoidance on. Let's talk about price. So the AUTEL Nano Plus Premium Bundle, which is the one I tested, which has 3 batteries, a multiple battery charger, a shoulder bag, and a few other bits and pieces, is normally $199, although at the minute there's a sale on making it $999. I don't know how long that sale is going to last for, and so the normal retail price is $199. If you take a look at the DJI Mini 3 Pro with the new RC controller and you buy the Fly More kit, which again gives you 3 batteries, a multiple battery charger, shoulder bag and a few other bits and pieces, it is currently, when added together, $198. That makes the prices almost exactly the same, except with the Mini 3 Pro you get the RC controller with the screen included, which is a massive, massive upgrade over the controller you get with the AUTEL Nano Plus. If you want to save yourself some money, you can pick up the Mini 3 Pro with the RC M1 controller, and you don't need to get the Fly More kit as it's a separate purchase, and this makes the price $759, and that's a lot cheaper than the $199 AUTEL Nano Plus. Or you can get the Mini 3 Pro without a controller. Maybe you already have an RC M1 controller from the Mini 2, for example, and this comes out at $669. So the Mini 3 Pro can either be the same price as the AUTEL Nano Plus, but you get a much better controller in my opinion, or you can actually save yourself a lot of money and get the Mini 3 Pro without the Fly More kit and either the RC M1 controller or no controller. So what's my conclusion? I don't think the AUTEL Nano Plus is a bad drone. It's capable of producing very nice videos and very nice images. It's got a good build quality and it flies quite well. Not as well as the Mini 3 Pro, it doesn't have the performance of the Mini 3 Pro, but it doesn't fly badly. It's a nice drone to fly. Where it's let down is the incredibly buggy software. The AUTEL Sky app is very, very buggy and it's missing features. It doesn't have tracking, which the Mini 3 Pro has, and I can't tell you how annoying it is to travel to a location in terms of time, money and distance, be told you're recording in 4K, it says you're recording in 4K, come home and it's recorded in 1080p. Those are just bugs that you can't afford to have in your app, and it's not an issue you ever have with the DJI Fly app. The DJI Mini 3 Pro is a higher performance drone, It has a much more reliable app, it's more confidence inspiring when you fly it, and for the money, it has a much better controller. So if I was in the market to buy a mini drone, I think the Mini 3 Pro is the clear winner. So there you have it. You now know which of these two drones I would rather own, and you know more about the pros and cons of each drone. Which one would you rather own? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you've liked this video and you've learned something new, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you own either of these drones, or any drone for that matter, DJI Mini 2, DJI Mini 3 Pro, Evo Nano Plus, or even a Mavic 3, and you want to know how to get better photos and more cinematic videos with your drone, then I have a ton of other content on my channel that I recommend you check out that will help level up your drone game. If you want to stick around to see a few more of them now, here's a few I personally recommend checking out. I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you over there.